So, yet more stuff turning up in the post. Interested to see what this is. I believe this is a SAS backplane and some cables that I need for basically jerry-rigging some things in and potentially adding more storage. Well, it's certainly nicely packed, isn't it? Very nicely packed, actually. I expected. Oh, certainly nobody's been in here. Right. Considering this is essentially cables and a printed circuit board, I don't think there's anything else in here. They really have done a good job of packing it. Okay, so yeah, so what we have in here is this, which is a SAS backplane. So this is what you plug in the hard drives to. So this expands, if you drop this into the case and lock it in, this then activates the second bay, which then gives you another 8 hard drives. But you can't use that on its own. You need to run it off of an expander card. So the RAID card plugs into here, and then the original 2 connections go to the first SAS plane 0 to 7, and then 8 to 16 or 8 to 15, I think it is, go here. I suppose it's 0. So that's good. Future expansion taken care of. And then we have some cables, which have been put in here. So these hopefully are the SAS expander. These are the RAID cables that couple to the cards. And then this is the communication cable that communicates which SAS backplane is doing what. Now I already have this, so I don't need this. This is surplus to requirement. And this is what I think I wanted. Hopefully there's 2 in here. Yes, there is. This is the power connector that connects up. And the reason I wanted 2 of these is because I want to hack one of these so I can actually steal power from it. It's a mini Molex, isn't it? Or whatever that connector's called. So, I mean, I might just cut it off, but if I can find that connector, I might then pigtail my own on, because I need to... It's all coming together. I need to do it so that I can work out how to get power to these, so that I can plug this into the RAID card and use non-standard, you know, not the small hard drives, but instead a couple of big hard drives. So, but it all works together. All I need at the moment is this and this to make the project. The rest of this stuff here is just if ever I decide to stop using it as a computer and I want to make it a massive storage device. Okay, and I've got a few more packets that have turned up that we'll open. I think these are caddies. I'm not sure. Let's find out. Yeah. So I already have 4 of these, which I've opened already, which I've been using. But now I have, now I have enough for all of the actual current slots. I will need some more. They're obviously second-hand ones, which is nice. I suppose they look nice. They're good quality. And they come with the screws. So, yep, good. That's nice. And then this also turned up, which is described as flat turn extension cord 2. I have no idea what flat cord extension cord is. I think this is something I've already given up on. Yeah. So what these were going to be is they were going to be the graphics card power cable. So what I was going to do is I was going to plug, for example, that into the actual system board, and then I was going to daisy chain off of these to those, but I ended up making my own, and I'm kind of glad I did, because they don't appear to be long enough, but they'll come in handy for, you know, a project. At some point there'll be a graphics card that doesn't have enough connectors, or, you know, well, they'll come in handy. And then this is another lovely little mystery. This says SATA cables. Well, I certainly haven't ordered any SATA cables, so let's see what SATA cables are. Ah, excellent. So what these are is these are slots. So these are ones that you can solder onto the board. So the plan is to take the riser cable, or take the riser card out of the board, and to pluck out the ones that we're not using, so that then this will fit flush. We might have to make a small hole in the riser card, so that we can then put in 16X cards. I'll find a 16X card, but I found this, so that we can stick in 16X cards. Obviously, if it's the right way around. And then it's actually going to be a little bit more stable. So that's the other reason why I bought a spare riser, because I'm actually going to heavily modify it. And yeah, I practiced desoldering some of these from motherboards, and I never quite got them off intact. They always had bent pins, or, you know, the plastic degraded. So I figured that by ordering, I think I ordered 5. The plan was, the seller online only had 5 available, and I thought, well, might as well get more than you need, you know, always get plenty. But I need 2, and I figure then I have 2 spare and 1 test one to actually play with. So, and it might come in handy. You never know. I have seen motherboards where these have been damaged, so you know it'll end up in my parts inventory. So, but yes, some more things that have turned up. All right, I've got 2 things to do today, which are both a little bit tedious. I haven't ended up putting this fan back into the power supply. Instead, I just mounted it to this little area here at the back. And then I've actually run it straight into the USB for now. But eventually, I think it will run off of the center fan. And then the center fan
both of these will have their PWM disconnected so that they both run full tilt, and then PWM and power will then go to this this fan here, so that it's done. Well, two things today. First, we got this spare SAS Backplane that obviously, actually, I think you have to remove this. Obviously, it's supposed to go in here, like that, and then it hooks up its power from underneath here. You can see the other one comes out and coils up, and then of course it gets its data from the RAID card or the expansion card that plug into the whatever those connectors are called. And then there's a signal cable which we already have installed, which we got with this anyway, but I ordered some extra cables including this one, and it's because I want to find the pin out on these so that I can use them to get 12 volts and ground to a SATA hard drive power connector or two, so that I can run bigger hard drives. And it's because this area here, which is designed for batteries, is just big enough for two lovely old style big hard drives, and so I'm thinking that that would be a nice place to put hard drives. I think I'll probably have to remove that bracket. That's the RAID bracket that you stick onto this card when you take it out and shift it to the back. So that's the first project. A little bit boring, a pin out journey, and then of course we'll write it all on a card and we'll stow it into the machine, because we're stowing all of the documentation in here. And then the other thing I want to do is take out this card again, and I want to take off the 8X PCIe connectors, and I want to replace at least one for a slightly modified 16X socket, which of course is still only going to be 8X, but at least is slightly more easier to fit, because I don't like the fact that I took the end off of the connector. So what I'll do is I'll stick you on a tripod and then I'll get myself set up. Just worked out why my video camera was so full, because it's been putting everything in the recycling bin and not deleting it. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a boring job, I think, because we have 14 pins here and 16 pins here, and yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting job to try to work out how to do that. Plus we have electronics on here which are going to throw the readings off. I found a connector that might help the process, but I think that's going to be a tedious, boring job that I'm going to do myself. I've had a quick go, and then when I went to test these again, they were wrong. So that's a job I'm coming back to. I just sat quickly and had a go. Yeah, we'll come back to that. This is what I want to do though. I want to get this done. So I want to pull the slot off of this, because well, you probably won't be able to see it, but I want to put this here so that it better supports the card. So the card sits in and the card has the lock. Doesn't really matter, but I don't like the way I've left that, and I'll show you what I mean when I find a screwdriver that is over here. Because when I did this, I did it dirty, and did it quick. Now it works, and it works very well. I'm genuinely surprised that it works as well as it works, if I'm honest. But I think that I want to get it done properly until I can find a proper card. That's the thing. When I find a proper card, I'll be happy. Now I'm tempted to change both of these to 16X just because I have two crappy old graphics cards that I might want to stick in here that are 1 slot thick, and that might make life a little bit easier for that going forward. Anyway, so the basic problem is, I don't know if it'll show up. Yeah, of course it will a little bit. So you can see that one of these pins is a little bit exposed for my liking, which means that it might one day just not go home. If you pull the card out and place it in enough, it might not go home. So definitely removing this one, and then we will pick out the pins that we don't need from this so that it sits flush along the board. I don't think we'll be drilling a hole for that. I'm not sure, I haven't decided. We'll have a think about it. We've probably got drill bits that can do that, but I don't think this is a multi-layer board. Where would it end up? Don't really know. We'll have a think about it. We might just cut that off. Cut that off and do it. Now I have had a go at desoldering some of these. I've been practicing on old broken motherboards and things like that. And the biggest problem is, if you look, when you desolder them, this one is slightly bent because you are having to apply some force to get them out, which is the reason why I haven't been able to recover one, because there's always 1 or 2 broken pins, and I was hoping to just break the pins over this side and then be able to get away. But then trying to line this up is a nightmare. So, yeah, that's the reason why I bought these, so that I didn't have to worry about it. So we're definitely going to put one in and see how it goes. So this might take some time. And this took some time indeed. So you're seeing some footage. Some footage was lost, mainly because the camera filled up, and I just stopped concentrating on the camera because I was concentrating on what I was doing. This took a very long time, and I had several unsuccessful attempts. Removing the socket, initially I was trying this pump soldering iron because it was new, and I thought I'll give it a go. Unfortunately, I didn't change the tip. There's a second tip which has got a slightly smaller aperture, and I think that would have been much better for removing the solder. I then tried the approach where you just apply a ton of solder on and wipe it off, but it took a lot of effort to get this socket off, which is really strange because the couple of motherboards that I've practiced with, it came off really easy. And I think the problem is that this card has a lot of copper in it. If you actually look at the card, there's lots of tiny little copper pads, and I actually think that this card has a lot of thermal mass in it, and that's the problem. It took a lot of effort to heat it up. Eventually I did get the socket off, but I was a little bit lazy the first time, and so I kind of tried to force the socket in, and it didn't quite go home straight. And because it didn't quite go home straight, I bent one of the pins. In fact, I bent several of the pins, and then it was a hell of a faff to get the bloody thing back off again. So then I really cleaned all the pins, and I got everything cleaned, and then I lined it all up and sent the next one home. And for some strange reason, one of the pins bent, and I didn't catch it until it was too late. The whole thing was soldered in. I had a minor rage quit moment, and then I removed it, cleaned it up again, and it was just one of those jobs that a hot air station is what you need, so that you can heat the board up properly, blow out the holes correctly, line everything up. Also, this is something where you have to be patient. You can't rush it. And I think I was rushing a little bit as well. It's the next day, and I have probably spent about, I don't know, 6 hours getting back to this point again. This is not the first time I've been at this point. The hardest part, when the socket fails to go home, is cleaning out the holes again. It takes a lot of tedious effort to clean out the holes, and I've gone through I don't know how many strips of braid to do it. And the problem is that it only takes one of these pins to be bent and the socket won't go home, and then you try and bend the pins back, there's one broken pin there, so that's that socket's a write-off. And then if you do get the socket home but one of the pins doesn't quite engage properly, you have to remove said socket, and it's quite a pain in the bum to remove said socket. You may have noticed I lost my temper with that one a little bit. Just cut the bloody thing off. So I'm glad I ordered more than one. The problem, I think, is that I'm using the wrong tool for the job. I don't think a normal soldering iron is for this. It should be a heat station or hot air station. I think I've relearnt that lesson, and I've paid in multiple hours of frustration because of that. Still, I'm going to have one more go at mounting the socket with a soldering iron. I'm just going to double check that all of these holes are clean, pluck another one, insert it. I'm afraid I stopped recording this several hours ago. Well, yesterday, several hours in. I think when the camera finally filled up, I just said enough. Enough is enough. How much of it you get to see, I don't think you'll see very much, because it's hours and hours of a man frustratingly desoldering things. So, but yes, hopefully, in a moment it will be mounted, and then we will test it. So many hours of back-breaking later, and I appear to have it in position, and it is all soldered. Let's give it a test. I'm so annoyed. I think I've worn away some of the contacts from running the copper braid backwards and forwards to desolder them, but I'm wondering, should I even mount, or let's do it properly, shall we? Let's put the card back in its caddy, or its assembly. That way, at least if it goes bang, it goes bang inside its assembly. That's how unconfident I currently am. Now, luckily, there are warning lights on these cards, so if anything is detected wrong with the card, the IMM, which is currently booting up, you can hear the IMM running in the background, or at least the fans of it are running in the background. Fans in the power supply are running. So the IMM will detect the error in the card and should shut down the slot. And by the slot, I mean, first of all, the error light will come on this card, and then if the error or the fault is great enough, the error light on the slot will come on as the system shuts the slot down. That is the theory. Of course, if I've wired 12 volts to a ground plane, or worse, 12 volts to a 3-volt plane, who knows what will happen. So, welcome to the ride. I've turned the camera on just because if it does go boof in a big pile of smoke, at least I've got video evidence of it, and I will probably laugh. I'm hoping the worst that can happen is we cook a graphics card, or we cook the actual riser card. That's what I'm hoping is the worst that will happen. What I'm hoping is that nothing happens. I'm hoping it is a really boring start, and that we boot into Windows and away we go. Now, Windows has seen, I think, these cards before, or this particular version of Windows has seen this card, so it should have the driver array in there. But before we test a graphics card that we care about, we'll be testing one of our stunt cards. So let's see what happens. Oh, okay. I'd forgotten about that. Okay. Yeah. These are for these silly compact cases. But we'll just take the board off the back, and hopefully that will be enough. Do I want to stick another board on? No, we'll just chuck it in. Right. So this is what I mean by the card. The actual the idea is that it goes home just a little bit nicer, and I like that idea that there are no exposed pins, and hopefully this has been worth the 6 hours that I've put into it. One of these has a tag on it to mark it as a different connector. Because we're doing it like this, let's put you in first. Let's line you up. I'll just wait a second to watch the IMM just detect that the slot is in position. We have no warning lights. Well, that's a good thing. You just heard the sound, I think, goes pop in the background. And we will select the monitor. Now, it'll take a bit of time for this to start. I mean, it's a good 2 minute or more boot up this computer or this server. It's a bit of a faff, but once it's running, it's lovely. And we have Windows. Well, this is most excellent. So this is the spec screen. I don't think you can actually read it, but doesn't tell me how many lanes are running. But it might just be that this graphics card doesn't do that. But so far, the graphics card appears to be functioning well enough that I am confident enough that I'm going to stick a better graphics card in and then give a bit of a test. We'll be right back. So I'm a little bit happier with that. That feels a lot more solidly home than before, and there's no exposed wires. I mean, I know nothing's probably going to get under there, but I just feel a little bit better about it. Now, hopefully, like I said, I've done everything right and this will work. We will see. We will see. I've made one minor modification that you may see. This is a small piece of plastic that sits here, and it actually pushes on the card about here, or here I think it actually is, and this keeps the fans from touching that piece of plastic and stops the noise and stops the fans being stalled out by the why does this never go in properly? Just basically stops the fans being stalled out, which is Nice, because then you don't get a fan error. Because you don't get a fan error, you don't have to worry about, you know, what error light is being thrown. So right, and if I remember rightly, that one goes to this side. And this one goes to the other side. No errors, but we won't know until we've had a full start. That is the problem. So this is just a quick graphics test. This is the only way I know to really test it. Yeah. The only thing is the graphics card itself says it isn't using 8X, it's only using 4X, which makes me think that there is probably one solder joint that needs to be gone back over again, or at least one. So that's what we will be doing in a moment. We will be pulling this card out and then just quickly going back over the solder joints. But it runs at 4X anyway, and for what I want to do, that's good enough. It's still better than the card, the onboard graphics card, and it's better than the card I just tested with previously. So I'm happy, and this is no worse than what we were getting with that slightly wonky pin at the end that sometimes didn't seem to always be connected. So I will just touch all the solder tips, and I'm going to call that a win, I think. I might not even do that today. I might do that down the road, because like I said, this whole thing has taken an entire weekend nearly of time for something that was so simple, just because of the thermal mass of that card. That card that has a lot of copper in it, and it's quite interesting. It took a lot of effort to heat it up. Would I do this again? Not without a hot air station. I think that would have been the key, because you could have used the hot air station to blow out the solder from the holes. The hard part has been basically prepping the slot, prepping the hole, lining it up. But I'm going to call it a win. It's a win enough for me, so I'm happy. I hope this hasn't been too boring. Now I have to sit there and work out how to edit it. Thank you for watching.